The alarm screams again, not because your body is rested, not because your soul is eager, but because someone else decided when you should wake up. You drag yourself upright, eyes half dead, scrolling through messages that demand things you never chose to owe. Coffee bitter on your tongue, not because you love it, but because without it, you'll collapse so under the weight of obligations stitched together by strangers. You dress in clothes picked for approval, not expression. You commute past faces glazed with the same quiet surrender. People who traded their pulse for a paycheck, their dreams for deadlines, their voice for validation. And deep down, beneath the rehearsed smiles and productivity hacks, you feel it. The slow suffocation of a life being lived by committee. A script written before you were born, handed to you like a birthright, when really, it's a cage. You weren't born to kneel, you weren't designed to echo. You were meant to rule, not over others, but over the territory of your own existence. And if you're watching this right now, heart pounding like it knows something your mind hasn't caught up to yet, then listen closely, because what I'm about to reveal isn't motivational fluff or recycled self-help platitudes. This is the raw, unvarnished architecture of sovereignty, the kind Machiavelli didn't write for courtiers flattering kings. He wrote it for wolves disguised as sheep, for foxes tired of pretending they belonged in chicken coops. He wrote it for you, not to manipulate the world, but to master yourself within it, to stop begging for permission and start claiming dominion. See, most people think power is about titles, money, followers, external validation dressed up as success. But real power, the kind that can't be taken from you, it's internal, it's structural. It's the silent confidence that comes from knowing you don't need rescue, because you've become your own sovereign state. And here's the brutal truth no one wants to admit. Society doesn't want you powerful. It wants you predictable, manageable, grateful for scraps. It dangles freedom in front of you, while quietly removing your ability to choose anything that truly matters. What time you rise, what you consume, what you believe is possible. Even your rebellion has been commodified. Buy this t-shirt, post this quote, attend this retreat, and call it liberation. But none of it changes the fact that you're still answering to invisible governors, still measuring your worth by metrics designed to keep you small, still apologizing for taking up space. Machiavelli saw this 5 centuries ago. He watched men bow to crowns they could have seized. He watched brilliance suffocated by protocol. He watched potential buried under obedience. And in response, he didn't write a manual for climbing ladders. He wrote a blueprint for building thrones, not gilded chairs in marble halls, but psychological fortresses where no outside force could dictate your value, your direction, your dignity. His strategy wasn't cruel, it was clear-eyed. He understood human nature isn't inherently noble or evil, it's strategic. People respond to strength, not pleas. They follow conviction, not complaints. They respect boundaries, not apologies. And if you want to stop being pushed around by systems, expectations, and well-meaning manipulators, you must learn to wield influence like a blade. Precise, deliberate, unapologetic. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming coherent, aligned, unshakable. Imagine waking up not because an alarm demands it, but because your purpose pulls you forward. Imagine speaking not to please, but to provoke thought. Imagine working not for a boss's approval, but for a vision only you can see. Imagine relationships built not on neediness, but on mutual elevation. That's not fantasy, that's strategy. And it begins with dismantling the myth that you need permission to lead your own life. You don't. No committee granted kings their crowns. They took them not through violence, but through unwavering belief in their right to rule. Your throne isn't waiting for you at the end of some achievement checklist. It's beneath you right now, covered in dust, ignored, disrespected, because you've been taught to look outward for validation instead of downward at the foundation you already stand on. Today we strip away the illusions. We expose the machinery of conformity. We rebuild your internal governance system using principles so ancient they're timeless, and so potent they've been feared by institutions for centuries. You will learn how to identify the invisible puppet strings attached to your wrists and cut them without guilt. You will discover how to make decisions based on your own intelligence, not popular opinion. You will master the art of calculated risk, not gambling, but strategic advancement. So you move with confidence even when the path is dark. And most importantly, you will design a life so authentically yours that others won't just admire it. They'll beg to understand how you did it. Because true leadership doesn't shout, it radiates. It doesn't demand loyalty, it inspires it. It doesn't fear solitude, it thrives in it. And if you're ready to stop living borrowed dreams and start architecting your own reality, then let me warn you. Once you see how the game is played, you can't unsee it. Once you taste sovereignty, you'll never willingly swallow servitude again. So ask yourself now, not later, not after one more video, not when you feel ready. Ask yourself now, are you willing to disappoint the crowd to honor your soul? Are you willing to stand alone if it means standing tall? Are you willing to trade comfort for command? If the answer is yes, even a trembling, uncertain yes, then your coronation begins today. Not someday, not after, now. Drop this in the comments. I claim my crown. Say it out loud. Write it down. Let the universe hear you shifting allegiance from external approval to internal authority. This is where your reign begins. Not with applause, not with permission, with decision, with declaration, with the quiet, thunderous understanding that no one is coming to save you. Because you were never meant to be saved. You were meant to rise, alone if necessary, feared if required, revered when earned. Your throne isn't in some distant castle. It's in the way you hold your spine when no one's watching, in the choices you make when no one's applauding, in the silence you protect when the world screams for your attention. Machiavelli didn't care about your feelings. He cared about your effectiveness. And effectiveness begins with ruthless self-honesty. So let's begin there, with the first lie you've been telling yourself, the one that keeps you kneeling, the one that says you're not ready, not worthy, not capable. We're going to burn that lie to ash, and from its ashes, we'll forge your scepter. You think you want freedom, but what you've been sold isn't freedom at all. It's distraction wrapped in neon lights, labeled choice. 10 brands of toothpaste, 50 streaming services, 1,000 influencers whispering conflicting advice on how to be happy, successful, loved. You're drowning in options while being systematically stripped of agency. Real freedom isn't picking between pre-approved paths. It's designing the path itself. And that terrifies people, not because it's hard, though it is, but because it requires something most have spent their lives avoiding: responsibility. Absolute, untransferable, soul-deep responsibility. The kind that doesn't let you blame your parents, your boss, your economy, your trauma, your stars. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He didn't write for victims. He wrote for victors, those willing to accept full ownership of their outcomes, even when the world conspired against them. Because here's the truth no self-help guru wants to admit. Until you stop outsourcing your power, you'll never truly own your life. You'll keep waiting for someone to give you permission. A mentor, a lover, a manager, a certificate, a viral moment. To finally begin. But permission is poison disguised as politeness. It keeps you small, keeps you safe, keeps you silent. And safety, my friend, is the enemy of sovereignty. Safety is where dreams go to die quietly, politely, with an apology and a shrug. Let's dissect the anatomy of your captivity. Start with your calendar. Who filled it? Was it you? Or was it the ghost of societal expectation whispering, "You should be productive by 8 a.m., available during lunch, responsive after hours, grateful for weekends"? Look at your bank account. Who decided where your money goes? Was it your deepest values? Or algorithms designed to exploit your insecurities? Ads masquerading as needs? Subscriptions you forgot you signed up for because everyone else had them? Now examine your relationships. Are they chosen or inherited? Maintained out of love or obligation? Do they energize you or drain you while pretending to support you? This is the invisible architecture of servitude. Not chains, not cages, just quiet agreements you made without realizing you were signing away pieces of yourself. And the worst part, you were rewarded for it, promoted for compliance, liked for agreeableness, included for conformity. So you kept doing it, kept shrinking, kept silencing the voice inside that whispered, "This isn't me." Until one day, you woke up and didn't recognize the person in the mirror. Successful by every external metric, empty by every internal one. That's not failure. That's feedback. The universe's way of saying, you were never meant to live inside someone else's blueprint. Machiavelli called this appearing to be versus experiencing what you really are. Most people spend their lives performing, smiling when they're broken, agreeing when they disagree, chasing goals they don't care about because they think it'll make them worthy of love or respect. But real power, it comes from alignment, from letting your actions, words, and choices reflect the raw, unfiltered truth of who you are, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's unpopular, especially when it's terrifying. Think of the last time you compromised yourself to keep peace. Maybe you laughed at a joke that disgusted you, nodded along to a plan you knew would fail, stayed in a job that corroded your spirit because it's stable. Each of those moments wasn't just a minor surrender. It was a brick laid in the prison you're now trying to escape. And breaking free doesn't start with grand gestures. It starts with micro-rebellions, tiny acts of sovereignty that rebuild your spine, one decision at a time. Saying no when you mean no, even if your voice shakes. Walking away from conversations that drain you, even if they label you rude. Investing time in passions that excite you, even if they don't make sense on paper. These aren't indulgences, they're declarations, announcements to yourself and the world. I am no longer negotiable. My time, my energy, my attention, my body, my boundaries, all non-transferable, all non-negotiable. This is where Machiavelli's dark strategy becomes your light. He didn't advocate cruelty. He advocated clarity, ruthless, unwavering clarity about human nature, power dynamics, and self-interest. He knew people respond to strength, not because they admire it, but because they rely on it. Uncertainty is contagious. So is confidence. When you move through the world with quiet certainty, not arrogance, not aggression, but deep-rooted knowing, others recalibrate around you. Doors open, opportunities appear, respect follows, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. Let's talk about fear, specifically the fear of standing alone, of being misunderstood, of losing approval, of financial instability, of social exile. These fears aren't irrational, they're evolutionary. For millennia, Exile meant death. Rejection meant danger. So we learned to mold ourselves into shapes that pleased the tribe. But here's what evolution didn't prepare you for. In the modern world, conformity kills slower. But just as surely. It doesn't leave you bleeding on the savannah. It leaves you numb in a cubicle, scrolling through lives more vibrant than yours, wondering where it all went wrong. The antidote isn't reckless rebellion. It's strategic independence, learning to need nothing from anyone. Not validation, not rescue, not permission. So you can engage from abundance, not lack. This is the fox Machiavelli praised. Cunning enough to see traps, wise enough to avoid them, strong enough to walk away when necessary. Independence isn't isolation, it's insurance. When you're emotionally, financially, intellectually self-sufficient, you stop begging for scraps and start choosing feasts. You negotiate from strength. You walk away from bad deals. You attract aligned partners instead of tolerating toxic ones. You become immune to manipulation because you've removed the levers others used to control you. How? Start by auditing your dependencies. Where are you outsourcing your judgment? Your happiness? Your security? Social media likes? Romantic validation? Corporate titles? External metrics of success? Write them down. Then one by one, dismantle them. Replace them with internal anchors. Define success on your terms. Measure progress by your standards. Celebrate victories no one else sees. This is how thrones are built. Not with gold or marble, but with daily decisions that reinforce your sovereignty. Small, consistent, uncompromising. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow, but you do need to reclaim your mornings. Not for hustle, for holiness, for stillness, for strategy, for reconnecting with the version of you that hasn't been polished for public consumption. Spend 30 minutes before the world wakes up doing something that feeds your soul. Writing, walking, thinking, creating, not consuming, not performing, not optimizing. That half hour, that's your coronation chamber. That's where you remember who you are beneath the roles you play. And when you step into the world from that place, centered, clear, sovereign, everything changes. Conversations shift. Opportunities appear. People respond differently. Not because you changed your tactics, but because you changed your frequency. Sovereignty isn't loud. It's magnetic. It doesn't convince. It compels. And the most powerful thing you can do right now. Stop asking how to fit in, and start asking how to stand out. Not for attention, for alignment, for authenticity, for the sheer defiant joy of being unmistakably, unapologetically yourself. Drop this in the comments. I am not for everyone, and that's my power. Say it until you believe it. Write it until it rewires you. Because the moment you stop trying to be universally liked is the moment you become universally respected. Not by everyone, by the right ones. The ones who matter, the ones who see you, really see you, and choose to walk beside you, not behind you or ahead of you. This is the first pillar of your throne. Ruthless self-ownership. No more apologies for taking space. No more guilt for prioritizing your peace. No more shrinking to make others comfortable. You were never meant to be convenient. You were meant to be consequential, and consequence begins with choice, with clarity, with the courage to say, this is mine. My life, my rules, my rhythm, my reign. The world will resist. Of course it will. Systems don't like sovereigns. They prefer subjects. But resistance isn't rejection. It's confirmation. Proof you're on the right path. Keep going. One micro-rebellion at a time, one reclaimed morning, one honest no, one boundary enforced, one dream pursued despite the noise. This isn't a sprint, it's a coronation, slow, intentional, earned, and utterly, devastatingly yours. They told you risk was dangerous, but they never warned you about the real danger. Stagnation. the slow rot of a life half-lived, dreams deferred, potential buried under layers of someday and when things settle. You've been conditioned to fear uncertainty, but Machiavelli, he worshipped it, not because he enjoyed chaos, but because he understood that power isn't found in safety. It's forged in fire, in friction, in the willingness to step into the unknown with eyes wide open and spine straight. Most people spend their lives avoiding risk, not realizing they're taking the greatest risk of all, betting against themselves, choosing comfort over courage, choosing predictability over possibility, choosing a slow death over a bold life. And here's the brutal irony: the very risks you fear are often illusions, magnified by anxiety, distorted by society's warnings, inflated by your own imagination. Meanwhile, the real threats, complacency, conformity, self-betrayal, go unnoticed, quietly eroding your soul while you congratulate yourself for playing it safe. Let's dismantle the myth. Risk isn't recklessness, it's calculation, it's strategy, it's knowing when to hold, when to fold, when to walk away, and when to burn the boats behind you. Machiavelli didn't advise blind leaps. He advised informed advances. Study the terrain, map the obstacles, prepare contingencies, then move decisively, confidently, without apology. This is how empires are built, not through luck, not through privilege, through precision, through preparation, through the quiet, relentless courage to act, even when you're afraid. Think about the last time you hesitated. What stopped you? Fear of failure? Fear of judgment? Fear of financial ruin? Now ask yourself honestly, what's the actual worst-case scenario? Not the catastrophic fantasy your anxiety painted. The realistic outcome. Did you really lose everything? Or did you learn something valuable? Gain resilience? Discover hidden strength? Almost every failure is just data disguised as disaster. Every setback is setup. Every mistake is tuition. But you'll never collect the lessons if you never take the class. And the cost of staying put, far higher than you think. Because stagnation doesn't just steal your future, it poisons your present. It turns your days into repetitions, your weeks into routines, your years into regrets whispered in the dark. What if I had tried? What if I had believed? What if I had chosen me? That ache? That's your soul screaming for sovereignty, for movement, for meaning. And meaning isn't found in safety. It's found in struggle, in striving, in stepping into the arena despite the fear. So let's reframe risk, not as threat, but as teacher, not as enemy, but as ally. The universe doesn't reward caution. It rewards courage, not blind courage. Strategic courage, the kind that assesses, prepares, then acts. Here's your framework. Machiavellian in its clarity, practical in its application. First, define your desired outcome. Not vaguely, specifically. Not, I want to be happy. I want to wake up at 6 a.m. to write for an hour before work, 3 days a week, for the next 6 months. Clarity eliminates confusion. It turns dreams into targets. Second, identify the real risks. Write them down. Not the monsters under the bed, the actual, measurable consequences. If I start this side project, I might lose 10 hours of sleep per week. If I speak up in that meeting, my boss might think I'm difficult. If I leave this relationship, I'll have to navigate loneliness before finding deeper connection. See them, name them, disarm them. Third, develop contingency plans. What's plan B, plan C? Having backups doesn't mean you expect failure. It means you respect reality. It removes the paralysis of, what if it all goes wrong? Because you've already answered that question. Fourth, start small. You don't need to quit your job or move countries. Take micro risks, send the email, make the call, post the thing. Say the truth. Each tiny act of courage builds your risk tolerance like muscle memory. 5th, set milestones. When will you reassess? What metrics matter? Not vanity metrics, alignment metrics. Are you feeling more alive? More aligned? More in command? Track those. Finally, act. Not when you're ready. Not when it's perfect. Now. Imperfect action beats perfect planning every time. Because motion creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates power. And power? Power attracts opportunity, respect, influence. The kind that can't be given. Only earned through demonstrated competence and unwavering conviction. This is where most people fail. They wait for certainty, for guarantees, for someone to tell them it's okay. But sovereignty doesn't ask for permission. It assumes authority. It moves before it's ready, speaks before it's polished, acts before it's certain. Why? Because waiting is the luxury of the powerless. The powerful create conditions. They don't wait for them. Look at history's game changers. Did Steve Jobs wait for market research to confirm people wanted iPhones? Did Oprah wait for network executives to validate her interviewing style? Did Machiavelli wait for the Medici family's approval before writing truths that would outlive them? No, they moved. They created, they risked. And in doing so, they redefined reality. You don't need their fame, you need their mindset. The understanding that risk isn't optional. It's essential. That growth lives on the other side of discomfort. That mastery is born in the arena, not the audience. So what's your arena? Where are you holding back? What dream are you postponing? What truth are you silencing? Name it. Then take one step toward it. Today, not tomorrow. Not after you've read 5 more articles or listened to 3 more podcasts. Now. Send the message. Book the ticket. Start the journal. Have the conversation. Make the investment in yourself. Because here's the secret no one tells you. You're already risking everything by doing nothing. Every day you delay is a vote for mediocrity. Every excuse is a brick in your prison. Every "I'll wait until" is a surrender of sovereignty. The throne isn't waiting for you in some distant future. It's being built right now with every choice you make. Choose fear and remain a subject. Choose courage and become a sovereign. Drop this in the comments. I choose courage over comfort. Say it until your bones believe it. Write it until your hands stop shaking. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else matters more. And what matters more than your authentic life? Nothing? Absolutely nothing. This is your invitation. Not to play it safe, but to play it smart. To calculate, prepare, then leap. To risk not blindly but boldly. To embrace uncertainty not as threat, but as terrain. Wild, uncharted, yours to conquer. The world needs your voice, your vision, your version of power. But it will never get it if you keep hiding behind safety. So stand up, speak up, step forward. Even if your knees knock, even if your voice cracks, even if no one claps. Do it anyway, because sovereignty isn't given. It's taken, claimed, earned. One calculated risk at a time. One honest decision, one reclaimed moment. This is how thrones are seized. Not with force, but with faith. Faith in yourself, faith in your vision, faith in the process. Keep going. The crown fits better when you forge it yourself.